everybody, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be doing another episode of my podcast, Something Dark, and today's case I've actually covered before in my audio only version. I'm going to be looking down at my iPad for my notes for my script just to make sure I get all of the facts of the case correct. So for this case, I actually heard about it in the summer of 2020, and I'd heard about it on the podcast Mile Higher. And I found it to be such a creepy case. It's involving a college student and a security guard turned almost serial killer. Today we're going to be discussing the tragic case of Kaylee Sawyer, which took place in 2016 in a town called Bend in Oregon. Kaylee Sawyer was a 23-year-old, beautiful, bright young woman who lived with her boyfriend of 2 years, Cameron Reinhofer. She had worked as a dental assistant for the past few years and had just enrolled into college to become a dentist herself. On the evening of July 23, 2016, Kaylee joined some friends at a bachelorette party. She texted her boyfriend at about midnight that night to ask him to pick her up. She had been dancing with a guy at the bar, and her and Cameron had gotten into an argument on the way home, and when they arrived, Cameron went into the apartment and Kaylee stayed outside to cool off. Cameron started to become concerned when Kaylee didn't come inside and he texted her. She continued arguing with him over texts and then said her phone was going to die. Cameron said that he drove up and down their road looking for her, but he couldn't find her. It wasn't unusual for Kaylee to take walks when she was angry to clear her head. Because of that, and the fact that they felt like they lived in a very safe area, Cameron went back home and went to bed. He was sure that he would wake up with Kaylee back at home. But the next morning, when Kaylee was still gone, he grew concerned and called 911. He alerted her parents, and her mom got together with some friends and started putting together some missing person flyers. It wasn't like Kaylee to go off the radar for so long, and everyone was getting increasingly more worried. As time passed and no one had heard from Kaylee, it was becoming clear that something bad had happened. As with most cases, the spouse or partner will be the first suspect. The police came and interviewed Cameron and searched their apartment, but soon realized that he had nothing to do with her disappearance. The next suspect the police turned to was the guy Kaylee was dancing with at the bar. He assured police that they had just been flirting and dancing, and his story checked out, and the police were left with no leads. They thought maybe she'd just checked out for a bit, gone off the grid, but they were sure she would turn back up for work on Monday morning. Monday came and she didn't show up for work. Now the police started to take the case a bit more serious. This wasn't like her. She loved her job. The police didn't know, but a big lead was about to fall into their laps. On Monday the 25th, at the police station in Redmond, a woman called Isabel Ponce requested a meeting. The officers at the police station actually recognized this woman. She was a police recruit at a neighboring department. It was at this meeting Isabel Ponce would explain that her husband, Edwin Lara, had sat her down and confessed to her that he had hit a girl with his car on Saturday night, that he had freaked out and gotten rid of her body. After confessing this to her, he packed up all of his things, took her gun out of her purse, and left. The police connected the dots quickly that this girl that Edwin had killed must be the missing Kaylee. The next day, they asked Isabel to come back to the station. They interview her again, break down her story, and get a whole timeline of the events. Edwin came home after his security night shift from working as campus security at the Central Oregon Community College. He came home really late and went to bed like normal. They woke up early on Sunday morning and went to church. Isabel mentioned that he seemed a bit distant and reserved. She told them that they were having issues in their relationship and brushed it off as that. That evening, Isabel, Edwin, and his cousin went to the cinema to watch a horror movie, Lights Out, and after the movie, they dropped off the cousin and they went home. Monday morning, Isabel woke up at around 9 a.m., but Edwin slept in a bit longer. She went about her morning, and eventually Edwin got up. She noticed that he was visibly very upset. This is when he confessed to hitting and killing a young woman with his campus security car. He defended himself by saying it was dark and the woman was wearing dark clothes and he was driving a little bit faster than he should have. He said he panicked after hitting her. He hid her body and left her belongings in their shed. But surely, if you accidentally hit someone, you would call for help, wouldn't you? Isabel told them that he took her gun from her purse, got into his car, and left. This seemed so out of character for him, and the police knew that they had their guy. Edwin became their prime suspect, but we still didn't know where Kaylee was. People are still hoping that maybe she could be alive. Maybe he didn't hit her that hard, and maybe, somehow, she could still be alive. The police got a search warrant to search Edwin and Isabel's house. Outside, in a locked shed in the backyard, detectives made a disturbing discovery. They found a bin bag full of Kaylee's belongings. Inside the bin bag was a green handbag that she had been wearing that night, completely soaked in blood. Her passport and ID were also found inside the handbag, so police were now certain that this was Kaylee's bag. Also in the bin bag was a clump of blonde, blood-stained hair and a rock drenched in blood. They were sure this had to have been the murder weapon. Police were certain this wasn't just a hit and run, this was a murder. Also in the shed they found materials about other serial killers, almost as if he idolized them. They found a presentation board that Edwin had made for his psychology class about the railroad killer, a drifter who was accused of killing at least 15 people in the late 1990s. The presentation board that Edwin had made was super creepy, with red paint used to mimic blood splatter. With the evidence that was found in the shed, police were getting a clearer idea of who Edwin was. It was then that the police had to change their case from a missing persons case to a murder investigation. This was devastating for Kaylee's family, as they had been holding out hope and continuing to search for her, hoping that she could be found alive. Police wanted to speak to Isabel again to find out more about Edwin. They actually wanted to know if he had any anger issues, if he is violent, or if he drinks. She told them that he actually quit drinking, but she did not mention that Edwin had recently had an affair with a woman he met in California. Edwin was actually a California native, and police thought this is where he could be headed. Later that evening, on Monday the 25th, about 130 miles away from Bend, Andrea Mayes had just gotten off from working a double shift at a clothing store. After she got into her car, she sat on her phone, catching up on social media. She was reading a Facebook message when suddenly a stranger's arm came through her roll-down window. Before she knew it, the stranger had unlocked her window and had sat in the passenger seat. It was Edwin, armed, carrying a backpack, and wearing a bulletproof vest. Following Edwin's timeline, this is only a couple of hours after he had confessed to Isabel. Edwin had been sitting in this car park outside of the clothing store for a while, waiting for his next victim. Edwin pointed his gun at Andrea, demanding that she drive. He said that he had to get to California. They headed south on I-5, and as they drove, Edwin opened up to Andrea and casually mentioned that he had murdered a young woman. When they reached Southern Oregon, Edwin decided to pull in for a night at a motel. Once they were in the motel room, Andrea managed to convince Edwin that she had an STD in order to dissuade him from raping her. Early the next morning, they continued south, but Andrea's car had an oil leak, and now it was overheating. Edwin told his captive that it was time to find a new car. They pulled into the parking lot of another motel and saw a man unloading his car. He demanded the keys to the man's car, and when he refused, Edwin shot him. Instead of searching for the keys and taking the man's car, he dragged Andrea across the street to a gas station where he carjacked a woman and her 2 grandsons. Meanwhile, the man at the motel was taken to the hospital, where he recovered from his injuries. Edwin stopped a few miles down on the highway and told the grandmother and her 2 grandsons to get out of the car. As he sped off, one of the boys called 911, and they soon caught up with Lara and his hostage. Once Edwin saw the cops were in pursuit, he used Andrea's phone to make a Facebook Live video. This is the video that was posted.
Hi everybody, I just want to say that I apologize for everything I've done. Most likely I'm going to get caught. And sorry about that girl in Central Oregon. And I just want to let family members, Andrea, that she's fine and she will be fine because so far she's been doing what I've been telling her to do. You know, and if you guys are wondering if I have done dirty things to her, no. All right, I'm not that kind of guy. You know, I just killed that other girl, you know, and I regret it. I regret killing her. You know, she's kept screaming and I had to silence her forever. So, you know, like I say, she's still fine. We're driving, and she'll be home pretty soon. I'm sorry to her grandma and her family members, to her boyfriend. You know, I'm sorry for everything that I caused. Okay, and you'll see her pretty soon. Okay, tell the cops that not to shoot us, because if they shoot us, then that's not my fault. Okay, but sorry everybody. Bye.
Once he posted the video on Facebook, he called 911 and he asked them not to shoot at him and also not to be too rough with him. He wanted to turn himself in, but he didn't want to suffer any harm. This is the transcript of the 911 call.
Tuesday, 7/26/2016 at 06:40.
911 emergency reporting.
Yes, hi. This is Edwin Lara, and I'm the guy on Interstate 5 going at high speed. I know you guys have the chopper on me already.
Yeah.
And, I just want to say I am going to turn myself in.
Okay, where are you at?
Okay, I'm on I-5. I think close to Redding, if I'm right. So, you know, I am wanted for murder in the state of Oregon.
Okay. Edwin,
Yeah.
where are you at right now? Can you stop?
I am going to stop once I hit Redding. Once I'm in Redding, I'm going to stop.
Okay, can you tell me where you are right now?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Let's see. There's a sign right here. 50 miles from Redding.
You're 50 miles from Redding. Can you see a mile mark or anything?
From Corning.
You're 50 miles from Corning.
Yeah, 50 miles from Corning. 50 miles south or north of Corning.
Are you by yourself or?
No, I have someone with me. I kidnapped her in Oregon. She's innocent. Her name is Andrea. What's your last name?
He doesn't know.
I'll let her give her last name so you can call her family, okay?
Okay.
Just give me a second.
What's your name?
Hello?
Yeah, hi. What's your name?
Andrea.
Andrea, what's your last name?
Maes, M-A-E-S.
Okay, are you hurt at all, Andrea?
No.
No? Okay. Do you know where you are? Let me talk to Edwin again.
Okay. Alright.
Hello?
Yeah, Edwin, you're heading southbound on 5?
Yeah, I'm heading southbound on 5. I'm
Did
50
you make
miles
it past?
away.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you make it past Redding yet?
I think I did. I'm 50 miles from Corning.
You're 50 miles from Corning?
Yeah, 15.
Oh, 15 miles from Corning.
Yes. So I'm passing a state trooper, a highway patrol right now.
You're what, sir?
I'm passing a highway patrol.
Okay, where are you at, though?
I am Flores Avenue, 1 mile from Flores Avenue.
1 mile from Flores. Are you able
Yes.
to safely find somewhere to stop?
I'm not going to stop right here. I'm just going to turn myself in Corning. Okay.
Are you going to Corning Police, or where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to Corning Police. But I want to ask you a favor.
Uh-huh.
So I have asthma.
You have asthma? Okay.
Yeah, so you tell them not to be too rough on me because, you know, I can barely breathe right now. All right, so that's all I wanted to say.
Do you
know,
need
I don't
any
want.
kind of medical, or?
Yeah, well, I think so. I'm gonna need my inhaler. I forgot my inhaler at home. You know, I went all over Salem, Oregon, looking for an inhaler, but I guess they don't sell it. You know, behind the counter or out of counter. So.
Edwin, how fast are you going?
I'm going about 120 miles an hour
about
right now.
120 miles an hour?
Yeah.
Can you slow down?
Well, I want to make it there quick. That way I can turn myself in.
Well, the officer sees you. That we just don't want you to speed away from anything. If you can stop and just give yourself in, it'll probably be easier.
Well, there's an officer behind me right now.
Okay, they see you. We're talking to them. They see you.
Yeah, she's seeing me. I think it's a she. She's right behind me.
Okay. The officer sees you, and are you able to just safely stop?
Yeah, I can stop, but not right now. I'll stop in Corning.
What's the difference from stopping now in Corning?
I just don't want to stop right here in the middle of the road, you know, putting myself in danger and putting everybody else in danger, more in danger, I guess.
You know, they won't. They're aware. I'll let them know they won't. But if you can stop safely, they just don't want you to run. They think you're trying to run or anything.
Okay.
Edwin, do you have any weapons with you?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I do have a gun on me. I am not going to flash the gun, so you tell them not to shoot me.
Okay.
No, I don't want to die.
Okay, you stick by your word, though. I'll let them know.
Yeah, I'm going to let them know. You know, don't hurt Andrea. You know, she's a nice girl. You know, don't hurt her. I'm actually calling my family just to say bye to them. So once I'm done calling all my family, then I'll turn myself in.
Okay, we can get a hold of your family if you want.
I already called my wife. I called a lot of people already. I am wanted for the death of Kaylee Sawyer at Bend, Oregon.
What's the girl's name? Kaylee what?
Sawyer?
Sawyer?
Yes. Or Sawyer, maybe.
And she was from Bend, Oregon?
Yes. I just want to say that it was an accident. So I work for Campus Public Safety there. And she was really drunk, and I didn't see her, and I ran her over.
Okay.
And then after that, you know, I just she was still breathing, and then she was screaming, and I decided to silence her forever.
Andrea?
Mhm.
Does he have his hands up?
Yeah.
He does have his hands up? Okay. Just tell him to make sure that the officer...
Hey, who are you? Tell him I can't.
He said he can't hear her.
Do I get out or do I?
Tell him we're letting the officer know that he can't hear her.
He's already walking towards them.
He's walking towards him. Tell him to make sure he holds his hands up.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
Once he was arrested, he confessed to raping and killing Kaylee Sawyer. This is his timeline of events. While Edwin was out on patrol on Saturday, July 23rd, he was looking for a victim. When he spotted Kaylee walking down the street near her apartment that she shared with her boyfriend, he knew that he had found his target. Edwin pulled up to Kaylee in his official Central Oregon Community College public safety vehicle and asked if she needed a ride. It was a white Ford Escape with decals and a light bar, which made it look a lot like a police vehicle. Edwin offered her a ride, and when she refused, he grabbed her by the throat, threw her in the back seat, and choked her until she was unconscious. He took her phone, her handbag, and shut the door, locking her into the police-style back seat where she wouldn't be able to open the doors from the inside. He then drove to a secluded parking lot. Once at parking lot B12, Kaylee started to regain consciousness and fight back against her attacker. Edwin wrestled her to the ground and bashed her head with a rock. He then raped her and dragged her into a wooded area where he finished her off with a bigger rock. He hid her body behind a tree before he left for a while, but came back so he could move the body. When he was being interrogated at the police station, he provided them with a map so they could find her body. He had dumped her body into a ravine just off of the highway. He claimed that he had always had an urge to kill, and that this was his reason for killing Kaylee Sawyer. During the interrogation, Edwin was smiling from ear to ear. He seemed so happy to have all of the attention and to live out his fantasy as a famous killer. When asked if he wanted to call anyone, he asked if he could call the media. Not a family member or lawyer, the media. In court, Edwin pleaded guilty to murder and theft and was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Separately, he pleaded guilty to the kidnapping of Andrea Mayes and was sentenced to a second life sentence. The more recent charges were on a federal level since he transported a kidnapping victim across state lines. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Oregon said that Edwin Lara is a ruthless killer who will rightfully spend the rest of his life in prison. It is believed that Kaylee would not have had her guard down if Edwin had not looked so much like a police officer. In 2019, Oregon passed Kaylee's law, which mandates that campus security officers cannot look like law enforcement, including their uniforms and their vehicles. Officers must distinguish themselves as campus security and not resemble police. That means no push bars in the front of vehicles, no light bars on the tops of vehicles, no partition or cage between the front and back seats, and the uniforms must differ in color from other law enforcement agencies in the state. The vehicles must have GPS or use a recorded dispatch system so that the security officer's location is known. Campus security officers cannot pull over vehicles and must go through a national background check and a psychological test before being hired. As tragic as this case is, I'm glad that some positive could come out of it. Thank you for joining me for today's case. I would love to hear your opinions on this case in the comments below, so let me know what you think. If you have any cases that you would like me to cover, please leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you're notified for the next time that I post. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.